He's here. He's coming.
He's coming.
He's getting his stuff from them.
Okay. These are for meeting later. Should just print. What a mess. Okay. I'm waiting for Joe. He'll be here shortly.
We did see him for sure.
Yeah, he's walking down the counter. He's probably signing the vouchers.
That's really cool. Look at that pencil. Okay. All right, anybody out there got a pencil?
There's some at the counter.
No, that's a, you got, Meg, you got a pencil.
No, there's at the counter. We'll go grab. We got pencils in the back. I don't think I have one on my desk.
What am I doing?
No, I don't have a pencil. I only have pens.
You escaped.
I guess that's one.
I thought you escaped.
Al told me I had to come.
You here? All right.
Yeah, girl.
There you
The
go.
mic.
I know we got it, but you didn't hear it. It's more than welcome. You're looking good. You don't have to. Yeah, thank you. You're welcome. That's a nice change.
Change every day if I want to.
That's absolutely correct if you want to. That's true. All right, am I on? Yes, I'm on. Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. Now Joe's here, we're all set. Okay, roll call
Ms. Howe?
here.
Ms. Butler-Challenger here. Ms. Wilson?
Here.
Mr. Benzie?
Present.
Mr. Funes-Bliss?
Here.
Ms. Kellerman?
Here.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, we're on item 2 for those who have their agendas. This is going to be Pledge of Allegiance and the moment of silence. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, for this special meeting for Monday, August 21st, we have approval of the agenda number 3.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Benzie?
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Mr. Funes-Bliss?
Yes.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Ms. Butler-Challenger, yes. Ms. Howe?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Item 4, which is disclosure of conflict of interest. I don't see any, so we're on to 5. Public statements, number 1. Thank you.
Good evening, Cindy Cronk, Webster Road. I guess I was a little confused as to what you folks were doing tonight. When I heard discussing the responsibilities of the Board of Trustees, I expected to see a handout with a list of what the trustees do, what the treasurer does, what the clerk does, what the supervisor does, your roles and responsibilities per MTA. So I guess, I'm not sure what we are doing tonight, so I guess we'll find out.
Thank you, Ms. Craig. Is there any? Oh. All right, Meg.
Okay. I, as well, am concerned about what we're doing here tonight. The things that are listed to discuss tonight are none of the things that we talked about discussing before. I think there was supposed to be another handout this evening of where the cameras are and,
That's true.
but I don't see that handout. Responsibilities of the Board of Trustees, that pretty much says you can take a class if you want to. Safety in township offices, they talk about police chief and director of parks, Ben Zeeb, getting together to make keyless entry and security cameras. But that was none of the things that we spoke about in talking about safety for, I don't know who, the public or employees. A handbook draft that Taylor is making a handbook draft, okay. Other liability issues, something that's on your insurance policy. Township superintendent directs us to Charter Township Act 359 of 1947. None of those things were what I understood to be us talking about at the last meeting when we were discussing items to discuss at this meeting. None of those things were discussed. So I don't know when you want to have your special meeting when we're gonna get some answers. Maria's got 19 of them that she wanted answered. And I'm wondering why you're not being more open, more transparent, more at least trying to help the community understand what's going on out here. That's all I have. Thank you. Meg Ritchie, Outer Drive. Thanks.
Start the timer. Yeah, I think Meg sums it up pretty good. What we're seeing from what I'm looking at here, maybe it'll pan out to be a little better than that, but right now, it looks like typical smoke and mirrors. Typical smoke and mirrors. So by the way, I have a shirt. Who will they try to frame next? And just so everyone knows, that's not directed at April. She was just played as a pawn in this. That's directed at you, Jennifer, you, Ryan, and you, Karen. You guys played this to the hilt to try to get rid of Marie. That's all it was. So here for the camera, just in case, so that everybody can see it. I'm just trying to figure out how someone can be acquitted of all charges, spent $19,000 of money out of her own pocket to beat this frame up that you guys pulled that I said all along was a conspiracy, which it was. And how come you're not kissing her feet and crawling on your hands and knees, please don't sue us? Instead of doing that, 3 of you voted no. 1 of you doubled down and said you got a video of her slapping you. That was you, Jennifer. I'm going to FOIA that, by the way. So I expect a copy of that real soon. And instead of doing that, you double down again and you stick her in a closet out in the way back instead of giving her office back, even though the motion was to what was your example?
Return her to her
restore her.
office. It's on tape.
Yep, to her office. You didn't do that. You said, I'm going to show her, I'm going to take my ball and go home. I'm going to show her one way or the other who's boss. You should be, of course, you don't have, I mean, it's just over and over again. You are a flat-out liar who said that I didn't write the board meeting rules of order. I proved it to you The least you could have done was apologize, but no, you sit there and pretend like you don't even hear me talking. That's because you're so immature and so insecure that you can't deal with facts. Is that my time? Thank you, Brenda.
Thanks.
You're sitting in my chair. That's my coat.
Oh, no, you got it up when you stood up.
Whatever. I'll sit back.
I'm just getting an agenda.
All right, do we have anybody else for public statements?
Ray's up there.
No, just getting
Just get an
agenda.
agenda, okay.
Yep. All right, we're on item, thank you all for coming. Item 6, new business. Items for introduction and discussion. It says, responsibility of Board of Trustees, A.
Well, I can start with anything, anybody? Whatever you wanna
Anything,
do.
anybody?
One of the things that, as a trustee, I assume that when I make a motion and it's voted upon, that it shall be taken care of by the office staff, and it is clearly stated my motion was return Marie to her office, as was just stated. Didn't happen. There's been a lot of other things, like asking our lawyers when the paperwork came from the lawyers saying, the Board of Trustees, which we're responsible for, asked them to be here. You said you brought the papers with you, that's a Board of Trustees asked you. I didn't even know about it, and I believe Marie was the only other person, Board of Trustee member, that said the same thing. And I looked around the rest of you all, and nobody said a word. There seems to be closed meetings going on here, and I think that's not legal. I'm not real smart about this. Lawyers, is it illegal to have a board meeting and leave out 2 of the members?
Of course it would be if there were a board meeting, yes. I agree.
So what do we call a board meeting? I am certainly confused about what a board meeting is and what is an open meeting with the public's knowledge.
The Open Meetings Act refers to a meeting as a gathering of at least a quorum of the board to discuss and deliberate township business.
Seems there was a violation of that when only 2 of us didn't know about a subject that you were presented with and then replied to. That's one of our responsibilities as the elected people in this township, as far as I understand it.
Are you saying that something that I said is suggesting that there was a meeting?
Absolutely, no, you responded to a board request to come to the meetings. And I'm a board member, and I didn't even know that this request was made. That seems to be a problem to me. A really huge problem that I think goes on very much. Like returning Marie to her office is my statement. She didn't go back to her office. She was put in another office. Whose decision was that? Was that another board meeting that only Marie and I weren't at? It sounds like it. It looks like it. It feels like it. And that's just 2 things. I think we need keyless entries to the office spaces. It's another issue. I think we should, as office trustees, as elected trustees, we should kind of have an idea how many hours people put in that we pay, we don't pay. Our taxpayers pay. Another suggestion for office security, office management. Or really, that goes under responsibilities of the board members. Perhaps I'm the only one that feels there's a problem here. I don't know.
No response?
Apparently not.
It's kind of hard to respond to something that is totally ridiculous.
Which part's ridiculous?
We had a special meeting, and you wasn't invited. We haven't had any other meetings. You were sitting at the meeting that we decided to get her, you were sitting right there. when we decided that we needed her to be at our meetings. And you were sitting there. Don't look like you don't know what we're talking about.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about, but I'm looking at this special meeting that's supposed to be talking about the responsibilities of the Board of Trustees. Is that one of them? Is that what?
No, I'm
looking
answering
at
her
staff's
statement.
report to us. When it talks about safety in the office, which, oh, well, I'll go ahead and read it. It talks about the safety in the office when she's talking about the physical being, we were supposed to have a map. Do we have a map?
I have a map here with me. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that I can circulate.
Okay. Would you do that now?
I wanted to know if the board wanted that to be public information as to where all the cameras were, so.
There's a question with it being public?
Well, I have a statement to make when you're done.
It's
Well,
on the
yeah.
agenda that it was gonna be passed out.
That's, I guess that's what I was,
can make copies. I'm just saying, like,
Okay.
I wanted to understand if this board wanted that to be handed out.
do you want to vote on it?
A map of the cameras?
The cameras, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Should we take a vote before your statement or after your statement?
After my statement.
Okay.
I have never been to any secret board meeting in my career at Bath Township. Marie, that's the peanut gallery weighing in. That's your responsibility.
I'm not peanut gallery,
Wait,
Joe.
well, hang on, Joe. We
You're
don't
the
call that
peanut
peanut gallery. That's the audience that's listening. Now, granted, last time we didn't have a committee of the whole, and that was a vote. I understand that. But I guess what I'm saying, for us to be able to discuss what we're looking at and what the statements that you make, and someone challenges those statements, they can do it at public comments. Would you mind doing that?
I'd be happy to.
Okay, so we can wait, well, just hang on, because we're not quite there yet. We have public comments next, so write yourself a note. Does that help? So go ahead, finish your,
I still haven't been to any secret board meetings.
okay.
Yes, you have.
Now, you were gonna wait until public meeting,
Oh,
so,
sorry.
thank you. Thank you. Is that it?
That's the only thing I
Okay.
wanted to convey to the public.
Should we, are you saying we need a vote for the placement of the cameras?
So I'm not saying that in
Okay.
general, there are some times when things are not shared. SCUMA doesn't share certain maps of things. I'm indicating to you that if you're comfortable sharing the locations of these, that I'm comfortable making copies.
Then I'm comfortable, but that again is apparently Ryan's, trustee Bliss is not. Yes,
I think it would be helpful to have the police chief indicate if he's comfortable with our security information being released publicly.
seriously.
Yes.
This is a public,
You're talking
is that what
about
you're
for
asking?
thieves.
You're asking if our chief would, Chief Willie, would you mind stepping up and making a pitch? Because that's really what it is.
Well, I guess I would ask to break it down even further.
Okay,
We have cameras inside the building
yes,
as well as perimeter
Outside.
cameras on the outside.
right.
That's really your guys' choice what you want to do. I guess I don't know of any agency that puts up security cameras and then gives them out to the public and say, here's all the cameras, so if you want to circumvent them, go ahead. I've never seen that before. Internally, maybe there might be some idea, reasons for it, for internal cameras, but external cameras, I can't see a reason that you'd want to,
Oh, well, I can.
so.
I didn't know personally that we were being filmed until my assault charge. There were films that the township had that obviously demonstrated I didn't, which I knew I didn't strike one of our employees. But that I didn't even know that we were being filmed. I never paid any attention to it, frankly. But now that I do know, it's a different story. And I notice more and more when I go to different places that they actually have it posted. Watch what you do because you're being filmed. So,
As they should, yes.
well,
There's
exactly.
a sticker on
So,
the front door,
Yeah.
how big is the sticker?
a couple inches by a couple inches.
Then
I
it
don't
should
know.
be really big, like 8 by 8 or 10 by 10 or whatever it takes, just so people understand. I didn't know, and it did state that they would be handed out, so now there's the question, and the chief of police is saying it, and I'm saying that's my example of knowing where in fact the cameras are located. So my point of view would certainly be to let us all know where they're at, and let people know that they are being filmed. But I understand exactly what you're saying.
I mean, you're kind of defeating the purpose of some of that, but letting
No,
people
you're
know, I
not.
think you should.
No, because defeating the purpose means you're stopping somebody from a felony. You're stopping someone from attacking. You're stopping someone from doing. I don't know that we have that issue so much. Do you? Are we willing to take one person? Is that what you're, I'm sure that's what you're thinking.
I'm not trying to get into debate.
Oh, no,
on
I
this issue,
understand.
okay?
I understand.
I clearly agree with you that, like, if you walk into the police department, there's notification after notification that person is subject, entering the premises are subject to video recording, for sure.
Well, it's the same thing with your taping, with your body cams. Same issue. You don't have to tell anybody that they're actually being filmed, but they are.
It's a little stickier when you're inside. of
It
a
does
building,
get
but
sticky.
by law,
It really
so-
does get sticky. You're right.
so.
You're right. Go ahead. Trustee
I can
Felton.
see both. I absolutely agree. We don't want to tell every thief in the neighborhood, but I cannot afford to go through what you just did. And so I feel like I want to know which portion of this building I cannot be falsely accused of assault and battery and go through what she did. That's horrifying to me. That's why I won't come in this building during working hours. And that's a horrible way to feel, to me. And I do honestly feel I will not go in that room in the daytime with the staff here. It happened to her, it can happen to me. So I would like to know which areas I can feel safe in. So that's the two sides, I get it.
So,
If I could,
oh, please.
I would think employees would be different than releasing it, putting it on a website or for the general public. I think you're talking about two different issues.
Right.
But that would be my 2 cents in that.
Okay, so if I'm understanding what you're saying, when it was stated that we would be handed out showing where our cameras are at, the issue of it going outside this building is a question.
Correct.
Okay, so I would have to ask if that means that would be the 7 of us who would have access to knowing where those cameras are at. The general public would not have access. Is that,
I would just ask if that's
Okay.
allowable by our attorneys. If that's the case, then I would happily go make copies for the 7 of you and then collect them afterwards.
well, I don't know, are we going to take a vote on,
I'm saying
I
you
mean-
don't want to violate, if I hand it
No.
out to you, is it a public record? So I'm just saying, like,
well, it should be a public record, but I get what the chief is saying. All right, would it make any difference if everybody was handed a copy, but they left them here? Would that,
No, because they can take pictures.
That sounded like a question for me, not you.
whoever in that corner is,
I think the superintendent's suggestion to distribute to the board members is appropriate. The board members having access does not convert that to a disclosable document at that time. We talk about infrastructure, I think was the example you gave for SCUMA, and what you heard from the chief as being security concerns, making sure that the building is safe, that the personnel, all personnel, including the board of trustees, are safe and feel secure. We would, if we disclose that only to the board, who has access to a variety of things that are also confidential, including opinions from me, for instance, that does not make it a public record that can be and should be disclosed. And we would be able to continue to rely on that as a exempt public record for which we could claim a denial under FOIA.
so you're saying you would put this in the same category as a client privilege?
I would say that there are several exemptions under the Freedom of Information Act. I gave you 2 examples.
As a closed meeting, almost.
Yeah, it is. Okay, no, I appreciate that. So I guess we're still at the point that our board needs to determine what it is they want to do. Do I make a motion?
Go ahead.
Okay. I'll take a stab at it. Please correct me. My stab at a motion would be that the handout that was originally promised would be handed to the Board of Trustees. Okay? At this time,
And then collected? Do you want them collected at the end?
None collected.
oh, you want them collected from us?
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
All right. Then they will be collected after the fact with no cameras, no use. Correct? Is that understood?
I'm sorry?
Okay, let me try. Sorry. No, my stab at this would be that the Board of Trustees will get copies. I'm changing it. Sorry about that. Board of Trustees would get copies of the cameras at this time. And they would also return them so that they're not distributed for public safety at this time. Now, okay, I'm going to ask my own question.
Should they be handed out?
Should I try it one more time?
No, I got BOT will copy, BOT will get copy of camera locations and return them so they are not distributed.
Oh, distribute, to the public. That's under the advice of our attorney. Is that correct? Okay. Or even our chief of police, whichever you want to put, or both. Oh, no, go ahead, I'll do that. I'll do a second motion. Go ahead. Is there a second? No second, it dies. Need all that effort for nothing.
Second it.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Benzi?
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Mr. Funes Bliss?
Yes.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Ms. Howe?
No. Sorry, I don't see it, but that's okay. I understand up to a point. All right. Now, that's only part of the office security, is dealing with the cameras.
Are we putting these together, or are we separating responsibilities and office security? Are we
Well,
one or
that's
the
a-
other, or both, or?
That's a
What do you
good
guys
question.
wish?
You're skipping around.
I had
so.
I know.
we are skipping around.
We're skipping around, it's okay. I like the
ahead,
idea of the
because
keyless entries so that we have, it's actually part of the responsibility, I think, of the Board of Trustees to have some, it's not really micromanaging to have an idea who comes and goes. It's also security, who's in the building at, I wander in here at 3 a.m. to pick up my paperwork. You should know. And it's reasonable to know when our staff that we're paying hourly, when they work here, or they work at the senior center, anywhere. So I think that is an expense that this township needs to consider very seriously. And it keeps track of, and we have a nice little computer program on that. Also,
Sherry, may I?
Oh, sorry.
sorry.
Yes, trustee Feedwood Bliss.
There's a proposal in the capital improvements plan that has come through the planning commission from Ben Zeeb's department to do just that.
I saw that.
It scored really well, and the commissioners thought it should be supported as well.
Good, great. There's also a program that I looked up, and I don't have it with me, but
Oh, I got
it's
two. I'm supposed to have two? Oh, gotcha.
that you can
the
have
extra
all
one.
checks written can be looked at by taxpayers and the Board of Trustees as a responsibility to see what's happening rather than sign the vouchers as we all do, and really don't have the hours to look at it and understand what we're spending money on. And that's a program that you can use online, and then you can go access and understand what checks are written. I found that from a DC person who contributes to Washington, DC politics. Just an idea. And that we need to look at, when we have a motion that, as in Marie's office, that it's done accurately. There was also, well, I don't know if this belongs here or not, but that the senior center proposition that I proposed was to include parking area in the examination by the architect to see if we can park there to fulfill the idea of making it bigger. If you can't park there, it makes no sense. And that was included in the motion to be looked at. And we paid him to come, and it wasn't in his scope of what he was asked to do. So somehow things are being lost in translation from us, and that's our responsibility. I don't know quite where we check it, but we need to do something about these little oopses that slide through. So that would kind of go with responsibilities of us. We were elected. We have to take care of business.
Okay. Is that it?
Am I the only one?
No?
Okay.
I'm just waiting.
Go ahead.
All right. No, I wanted to be sure and remind the board, they got the model ethics ordinance. I made copies for all so that you would have them and you could read them. So hopefully you will read through those and see. I'm sure we'll meet again so that we can discuss what this is, because this is the model ethics ordinance for local units of government, and that was by the Attorney General. So hopefully you'll have a chance to read it and look at it and digest it and do what I do, write your notes in a corner or highlight or whatever. That was my only comment for, hopefully you will read it and understand it. Yes?
I'm happy to wait till you're finished if you're not finished.
No,
Okay.
that's all right.
So in preparing for this meeting, it was somewhat confusing for me because roles and responsibilities of the board, you've all received books from the MTA which outline your responsibilities. So for me, it wasn't necessarily providing you something with that you can read because you've already had that opportunity. It was my understanding that you were looking for something more than that, and that's why I presented a few opportunities for MTA to be brought in, or our firm to be brought in, or an independent third party. So I would like some discussion, because it was not my understanding that it would just be something that would be handed out. We've already done that.
Except that normally when something's handed out, same thing with my ethics ordinance, it's handed out. Whether you read it and act on it, it's a whole different story. So regardless of whether MTA supplies that, or, for example, our treasurer has one, and I know that our clerk has one. I have one, which I started looking at it. It was kind of cute because, yeah, it doesn't apply to me. But anyway, it's written, and this is what you're supposed to be doing. And so when something's in writing, it doesn't always mean that that's being fulfilled.
Correct, which is
So-
why I understood that there was to be some type of other
Okay.
supplement to what had already been provided.
And here we are in '23 when we started in '22, so, or 2020.
So this special meeting
this-
being requested
Well,
2 weeks ago.
I think it was, in order to figure out what it is that this board is determining to do on its own. And I think part of it has to do with what the impression is, that they're not really doing a whole lot. They're saying yes to a lot of things, but they're not actually working and doing a whole lot. Some have said and told me that's my fault as the supervisor, as you described it. Careful. as you described it, you have Paula Clark as the supervisor, then you have Jack Phillips as the supervisor, and then you have myself. And each one of those had a determination that you looked at to determine what they do. So my responsibility, if I'm understanding what you're saying, or what's mentioned here, is I'm supposed to lead this group of men and women who are grown men and women and professionals. I'm not so sure how that stands. I've repeatedly, like in August of 2020, asked for the group to come together, and it was decided not to come together. You guys weren't here at that time. You were a deputy and you were a deputy. But it was decided that there was no need for it, and it would be in violation of the open meetings, which made me kind of chuckle because open meetings you post, and anybody can come and listen to it. That's not a big deal. So it was decided at that time. So I thought to myself then that these are grown men and women. They can make decisions. They know more than I knew when it came to your comprehensive plan, your strategic plan, all of these things that we're supposed to be doing for our township. So I think this part is when you say the responsibilities for the Board of Trustees, just because it's in a book, doesn't mean that this board actually follows that, if I'm making any sense to any of you. You're right.
I actually
Okay.
agree
And
with that, and that's why I understood it to
That's-
mean you wanted to go further
I
than,
didn't.
not you, but
Okay.
as a board, you wanted to go further than that and discuss having some other type of supplemental training or information.
We're just trying to understand, I think, what the role is of what your Board of Trustees, for example, and that's the 7 of us, to determine whether or not we actually have the best interest of our township at heart, or if this isn't an oligarchy. I don't know how else to
Where we
to
failed,
say it.
what we should do.
What we should, where we have failed and what we should do. That's a good way to put it. So what you're suggesting is one of 3, and frankly, I would go to the third party myself, but that's me. Because I would trust the third party more after these last 3 years that I've been involved. So I think for any of us, it's a determination of what it is we do. This is why I like the ethics ordinance, because the ethic ordinance takes in a lot of information that the township, the board, is responsible for doing. And it would also take care of a lot of our policies. I have a book about this thick. I know you guys gave me one which was about this thick, but you actually have one that's very thick as to what our policies are. This ethics ordinance kind of takes care of a lot of those, as I scan through it and look at it. So I'm hoping that that's, above all hope, that this is exactly what you'll do. So I'm not sure with your comment about having to have someone come in and tell us what we need to do. I would hope this group, not these 2, obviously, well, although Brenda's been here for 10 years, to be able to know and understand what the board does. That I would hope. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So I think in trustee Kellerman asking it to be on the agenda, to me says there's either a lack of understanding, and I'm not saying by you, I'm saying there's could be a lack of understanding that you haven't received the information through written means, and so we need to take it a step further and have someone come in, third party, as perhaps as you suggested, to have those conversations with this board. Why would we put it on an agenda to talk about it?
That's a good.
If it was
Already.
okay.
Yeah.
So when trustee Kellerman asked for it to be the topic of a special meeting, to me that says that there's a gap somewhere and we need to fix it.
From my standpoint.
And I'm not trying to speak for you because you're the one that
Right,
requested it.
my concern certainly has been brought to light by what our supervisor just went through. I cannot afford to do that myself. I don't want to lose. And along with that came security of my thought of insurance that I don't, and I guess I need to ask, it's just, this is thinking along the lines here. Do I have insurance that is active right now for our taxpayers suing me as a trustee that I messed up something as a trustee? And I want to see that in writing.
And I can
for my
certainly
protection.
bring,
Yeah,
yep,
and-
I can bring that for you.
Yeah, okay, and I think we all should have that, and we all should,
Oh,
and
sure.
that's a security that, I don't want to lose my farm, my home, I want to make sure I'm insured, it makes sense. And I think we all should think that way too, because what she just went through, suppose it was $1 million in her expense, not just 20. 20's bad enough, but things can happen to us that we're in danger. That's my security that I worry about. I want to make sure I'm insured.
No,
Liability.
I'm trying to remember back when. And come to think about it, maybe I didn't ask the right questions. That could have been, there was never any kind of a notebook, any kind of information that passed on. It's nice to read what MTA thinks, and does say what the supervisor is supposed to do, but it doesn't tell you to put the two together as to whether your supervisor and your board of trustees, how that interacts. What they explain, and I can't speak for the clerk and I can't speak for the treasurer, I'm hoping they would speak, but apparently they're not, as to what the responsibility is to do and where we're at. Nothing was ever said. It was like, well, here's your office, and that's been since November of 2020. This is where you sit, and there you go. I've had to learn a lot of jobs by the seat of my pants, but this one was really an interesting one to learn, more so than law enforcement, more so than, it had to do with mediation. At least I'm handed something that says, this is what your responsibilities are, this is what you should do. Not by word of mouth. Well, I look at it like, this is Paula Clark's board, this was Jack Phillips' board, now this is your board, and I'm looking at you going, not my board. They're grown men and women. But again, that was something that I was not introduced to as to whether or not you should or shouldn't say or do. It wasn't my understanding that this superintendent was going to, how do I say that? Run the township? Is that the wrong word?
So I think, and just having an open dialogue with you,
Sure.
I'm the sixth, I think, superintendent to be here
Yeah.
at this township since, I think, the 80s. My role is outlined in statute, so
Correct.
I look at that and I feel like, would it have been more helpful if you and I would have sat down and had a conversation about what
Oh,
my
that would have
roles
been-
and responsibilities
That would have
were?
been interesting. Yes, that would have been an interesting piece.
Okay.
I understood, I didn't see your contract to know what it was that was being asked. All I knew was that there was a part that cut and paste and took it out, it stuck it in. But as for the contract, that was something that was done by three, not all of us. And it had been changed a lot with different things.
What period was it changed? I mean,
I know.
So what was changed?
Last year.
What?
Responsibility-
22, I'd say
well,
it was 22.
The
Okay, there's-
responsibilities didn't change, they're
Respons- okay,
statutorily
Well,
hers.
yes, they did. The responsibilities changed.
That's what I'm
in-
asking the question,
Yeah,
because I don't know.
in 21, 22, and some of them, when they did
So
the
it
final
changed,
contract.
actually
So you're talking
changed.
about oversight of the contract?
I am stating oversight, not
Okay.
micromanaging, which is what I was accused of doing. To me, the board, and this is part of, I think, where this may be coming from with all of this and all from the trustee, is the oversight that the board is supposed to have. And the question of whether they're spoon-fed information is another story. In other words, if you come to me, for example, these two have staff people who are board, they're supposed to be deputies, and they're actually employees. They are deputies, they're still deputies, there's no question, because they have a title. But they're actually employees.
Correct.
Yeah, that isn't what it states. They have the authority to pick anyone they want. In fact, at this point, either one of them could pick anybody else that they want.
Correct.
Because, and hopefully, yeah, I know that you know this, and that's what it says in statute, but it doesn't say that they need to be employees.
Correct.
And so that's something I think is a little confusing with what's,
Okay.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
In the same subject, I think, is it not in writing somewhere that supervisors of a township can have a deputy, plain and simple? Or is that something we can just change as we go along and say, no, she can't have a deputy? I'm confused. Wait, but can we do that? Is that legal?
Well, that's something this board, go ahead.
I believe our attorney coached us through that. If you'd like her to repeat what she told the board, I imagine she'd be open to doing that. My mic is.
Coach, no, wait a minute.
I
The
can't hear
attorney.
you, Marie, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, make sure I'm understanding what you said. You said that you were coached by the attorney.
The attorneys did go through the three separate reasons for, but what I understood them to say is that she can have one to do A, B, or C. But that she can have one is written, I believe, in the rules of township.
Yes, that's what the
Charter
attorney
town-
told
Okay,
us.
so we can
Yes.
have one, and then this
But
board
that's
voted
the
against
choice.
it.
That's,
This board voted against the structure in which she was asking for.
no, the structure was the same. All I was saying was that it would have absolutely nothing, no financial or any other type of responsibility that the township would have. They're not an employee. I don't want an employee. And you didn't like the way it was written. I even had waivers and et ceteras to go with it, but that still was not good enough. It wasn't something that you wanted. And so that's how it came. But I think that those issues are part of the confusion that takes place with the general public understanding, as well as ourselves understanding what the Board of Trustees is supposed to do. Anybody else? Joe, you're not quiet. Jennifer, you're pretty quiet. Nothing to say. Do you have anything? Okay,
Yeah, I got something to say.
good. Step right up to the mic.
When I, before the election that you were elected, you give me a call, and I talked with, I talked with you for about 3 hours. And I said, Marie, you're gonna be the superintendent, or supervisor. And that, my.
3 hours. Whew.
No,
Okay. No, I'm sorry.
You had 3 months.
Oh, okay.
I'm
not
sorry.
3 hours.
You had
Thank you.
3
You said
months.
3 hours. I was thinking, man,
And
I talked
I
not
said-
that long.
Yeah, we talked 4 hours. And I said, go to the Michigan Township Association, take a class. You've got 3 months to do it, to learn what you have to do. Did you do it?
Oh, I've been to their classes, yes.
Did you go before you
I
took
couldn't.
office?
I couldn't until November, when I took office. MTA won't allow you to come in. I'm still a private citizen until the November. Yeah, no,
To the November election?
yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't realize that
That's-
they didn't allow you
No,
Take
MTA
your
doesn't
classes.
just let anybody in, which is part of, they used to come to my office as a lobby, but no, that's not, they wouldn't let, for example, Judy or Terry.
No,
or
but
some-
you were
But
voted in.
In August, I was.
In August.
That was according to me and according to our election laws. That is true. August, because there was no
Nobody
one.
against you.
That's right. I didn't have anybody.
Correct.
My election was in August. That's correct. But that doesn't mean that I was official until the general election in November. So that was why.
All right.
Okay,
Well,
no, I
But you
understand.
called and I give you the best advice I could give you. Go to MTA.
Then why wouldn't you meet with me? Because I ask.
I didn't want the whole board to meet together.
No, you
That's
didn't.
what you asked,
Yeah, that's exactly what I asked.
and I don't think that's proper for the whole board to meet together
Well, of course it is.
without the public being there.
You post it. You tell them that the Open Meetings Act is there and you post it. It's not a big deal.
You wanted
It's
to
done
go-
all the time.
You wanted to go someplace and.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anybody else? Is there anything? Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the comments. Anybody else have anything?
Questions is what I have.
Good.
Is there a desire for there to be a third party? Are the written materials enough for you all? Is there something more that can be provided? As far as roles and responsibilities of the Board of Trustees?
Well, rules and responsibilities don't have a whole lot to do with attitude. So if whoever it is that's doing the training, and again, I go for the third party, then that's something that I think has to be brought up, don't you? I mean, is that, it does make a difference.
Sorry.
I mean,
Oh.
how we participate together?
Yes. Yeah. That's nice that we have to go get chairs. I'm glad to see that. All right, good deal. That's nice to see it filling up.
So should I bring back proposals for a third party to do something for us?
I don't know, that depends on what you want to do. What does the board?
I have a
Oh, I'm sorry.
motion, please. I would like the superintendent to obtain proposals from training from the Michigan Township Association, the senior partners, and an independent third party for training, just so we can see what the costs are gonna be.
Could you turn your mic on, please?
It's on.
I'll second the motion.
No.
Is there discussion? Can we have a little discussion? Can you say
Discussion is in
why-
order.
Can you say why, Marie?
Why I wouldn't want all three? Because according to what this is saying, the cost would dictate.
Well,
So if a
look-
third party costs more than MTA, for example, they do this on a regular basis. And I'm assuming that Fahey Schultz does the same kind of thing.
I misheard you. I
So-
thought you said MTA.
He said all three.
He said all three.
said all three.
Yeah.
He said MTA, the senior partners.
wanted
and
to compare the
Fahey
cost.
Schultz and a third party.
Right. And he's looking at the cost of it. And I guess for me, that is what we're doing, we're kicking the can down the road again. What we need, if this is what we're doing, we need a single individual person, organization that's going to do it. If we end up going for the proposal that was suggested, the motion, then the trustee's going to have, or superintendent's supposed to come back. We don't know when the next meeting, because we're supposed to be dealing with our rules. So it'll probably be the end of September.
Well, I could
Then-
bring it back at the next regular board meeting if you chose that.
Oh, instead of the special meeting, you would bring it back. Okay. So we're going to say we're going to have that in that length of time that we're going to do it. So, and you're looking at the cost.
Don't know.
Is, I guess, what the motion was, correct?
The motion was to get 3 quotes.
Right. So if you get 3 quote, we don't know which one is the better to do for us. or
Then
how
we can
they're gonna-
decide after we get the quote what we would like to choose.
That's correct.
If that's what you
Yeah.
want to do, then I think that's for the board to decide that that's what they want to do. I personally don't think that's the way to go, but that's okay. Majority always rules, correct? I mean, I've been told that forever. So I guess the motion's on, it's been second. Should I repeat the motion?
No, you don't have to.
Okay, just so everybody understands, you understand the motion? Okay.
Mr. Benzi?
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Mr. Funes Bliss?
Yes.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Ms. Butler Challenger? Yes, Ms. Howe?
Nope.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Thank you.
If I may, prior to us wrapping up, can I explain anything from the maps that I've distributed to you and before I
I was gonna
pick
ask
them
you.
up?
So the difference between the colors are the ones that are new and the ones that are old.
Correct.
Okay.
The darker blue ones are original cameras that we had installed in 2022. I'm sorry, I must have laid mine somewhere else. Thank you. They're kind of a blue-green color. The three
Right.
additional yellow ones were added in later 2022.
2022?
Correct.
When in
No,
2022?
actually, 2023.
I was gonna say, wasn't it 23?
Beginning of this year.
Yeah, I
Yes.
was gonna say it couldn't have
Yeah.
been
Thank you.
2022.
Thank you for
Okay,
correcting that.
well,
Thank you.
That's, so what we're saying is this group that we have here, the security that we're looking at, who monitors these?
Are they taped for a while, or do we know?
So they tape on an ongoing basis, and
Okay.
they write over themselves based on the amount of cameras and how long they're running. So within a couple of days, they're writing over themselves.
Oh, so they run continuously, 24/7?
But
Correct.
then they
Okay.
rewind essentially, so.
There's no, forgive me, because I use older terms and it probably drives Taylor nuts, but there's no film being recorded.
Yeah, it's digital.
It's just digital,
Digital.
and it's
Right.
writing over itself constantly.
Should I read somewhere where Chief said that this is an older system?
It's an older system, and it's not a commercial system.
So the new ones are not commercial?
No,
No,
they're
okay.
called Lorax cameras.
And all of them tape over themselves
It all
At
goes
all
back to
times.
a digital.
Couple days.
Yes.
unless you grab them?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
Was the chief going to comment on that?
If you have questions for him, yeah.
Did you have a comment, Chief, about?
Did you want to share anything about the cameras?
About the cameras, or what we could do, might do, want to do?
The question came up about the rewriting capability.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You need a microphone on your body.
So everything records to a hard drive now.
Right.
And based on a lot of factors, whether you have it set for motion, whether you have it set for constant on, dictate how long it records over and how long of a window you have before it starts rewriting everything over. You can extend that by getting bigger hard drives, of course, to get it out further and further, but.
Okay, so what you're saying is that you can set it at whatever you want it to do. In other words, isn't that, did I miss it? Okay, try it again.
So, the amount of time you have before it rewrites itself
Okay.
is based on a lot of factors. Number of cameras, whether you have it to constant recording or record by motion only,
Is resolutions one of those
Resolution is
factors?
a big one too, whether you want 4K, 2K, or 1K, or 720. You can extend that by getting a bigger hard drive, of course.
So are ours motion?
No, they're running
They're
constantly.
running constantly, okay. So if we run them constantly, then they're rewriting themselves constantly, and that's all of them?
Correct.
That's
They're
all,
recorded
okay.
to-
Old ones and new ones?
Correct.
There's separate recorders for your different buildings around the township.
Sure.
Like the township is on one, police department's on a different one, but yeah, in a sense,
That
they're
makes sense.
rewriting themselves.
Yeah, that makes sense. So when we do these inside the building, then what we're saying is that those are running constantly, that they rewrite themselves to do this. Who monitors that? Nobody monitors them? They just monitor
Unless
themselves?
there's an incident, nobody's looking at it.
Okay,
You
so
see
if
the-
there's an incident, you stop it?
If somebody brought to the attention, if there's an incident, say, we have child exchanges all the time outside the police department.
Sure.
We recommend people, if they're gonna do it, they think there's an issue, pull up there. So if they alert us, hey, I had an incident last night with my ex or whatnot, we can go pull the videotape.
What do you do with it then?
If they want a copy of it, we can give them a copy of it. However, if they wait more than whatever days, number of days it is, it may be recorded over already.
So you don't
otherwise,
have
we
any, you don't have any security for saving pieces? They just go? Isn't that interesting? Okay.
It's all about cost, so.
There's a, yes, sorry.
This is a home system you would have at your house?
This is,
Is that what this is?
It's not a commercial system. I
It's
mean,
not a commercial
Yeah,
you see
that's
commercial,
exactly right.
I mean, there's stores that have them at it, but it's not like you bought into a company that's gonna come out, charge you $100,000 for
And do
it.
we know the age of this system, how old it is?
Which one?
There's two.
The one here.
These are old and these are new.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
estimate maybe 3 or 4 years.
Okay, so if we got a commercial system, would it record over itself, or would it have a bigger memory, or how would that work?
So data that it's collecting, images, is just storage. It's all what you wanna pay for. In a commercial system, that's what it's gonna cost is, this here, the system we have was a one and done. Doesn't cost anything. When you go to a commercial system, they're gonna charge you by how much storage you want. If you wanna keep it for 100 days, you're gonna pay for that. So,
Oh, that makes sense.
it's about space.
Thank you.
But you should have some kind of policy for that, shouldn't you? Or not?
That would be a question for you guys.
Ex-
there's all kinds of systems. Mine records for 2 weeks, and then it erases and goes over again. And yeah, I can set it for motion, I can set it for light, usually they're motion. So if somebody were to break in here, the camera would come on at night. There's all kinds of systems.
Sure.
And their storage capacity depends on what you pay for. And you can get some that run on phone service and some that run only on Wi-Fi. That much I know. That's about it.
But I'm still interested in who monitors.
Nobody monitors it unless
And they
there's
do
an incident.
themselves, and then if there's an incident, then you pull it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, there will be with election, the new election law that's coming in, if you have a drop box outside your township, you're required to have a video surveillance of that system, and you're required to keep that for 30 days.
Well, they do have a retention, okay.
Because
it
you can buy
shows-
anything you
State
want.
retention is 30 days.
Yeah, because it shows here that outside, it's very well covered.
Correct.
So whoever monitors the outside or pulls it up if there's an incident, and of course, if the incident takes place after the fact, then you still don't have it.
You have to get it within 24 to 48
Yeah.
hours.
Otherwise, it runs itself through.
It writes over itself, like.
Yeah. No, I get
The
that.
one proposed in the capital improvement plan has a much better retention schedule and the capability to retain that.
Okay. Is there any other questions? You guys, the only question I have with it is, as long as we have, especially where you've got them located, that people understand that they're being videoed, so.
Larger
a
signs
larger-
can be
Much
attained.
larger sign, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Much larger, much larger. So I'm saying you're looking at 8 or 10 inches by 8 or 10 inches, so it's a good-sized square. And I would like to see it posted in 2 places, either both doors, so that people can see it when they come in, or one door or somewhere.
Like the
somewhere
first door
else.
and the second door coming in,
That would,
something like that.
something like
Okay.
that, just so the public understands that that's what's going on. And it really is, that's a deterrent.
Thieves
more
can
than-
know it too.
Well, that's,
I mean, why
that's a
not?
deterrent.
Well, they know at Meyer when they go into Meyer.
Right.
You know, just so it's understood that that's what's happening. Okay. It's after 6, sorry about that. Is that what you're
Don't
thinking?
surprise me.
I'm glad it doesn't. Good for you. All right. Then we have public comment, I think is our next.
Pass these back down to you now.
Oh,
Should we
I'm
pass
sorry.
these back,
Pass
please?
So your conversation intrigued a couple of questions about video. I guess Gary could answer this, and probably Brenda. Brenda, are you our FOIA coordinator? So if I claim that I got hit in the office, am I entitled to a copy of that tape? Can I say I want a copy of that tape right now? Like as soon as you can get it to me, like in a day?
If you get it before it's written over,
Okay, I can just ask for that, I don't have to FOIA?
you need it in writing.
I have to FOIA that?
But then it would be written over.
No, my question is, do I have to FOIA that?
Do you have to FOIA
To
it?
get a copy?
Yes.
Okay. Did April Dunham FOIA a copy of the video? Or was that given to her?
I have no idea. I was actually on vacation that week.
Who would know?
It's my understanding that the trooper asked for that.
Previous to the trooper?
I am not aware that there was a request prior to the trooper.
You're not aware that she was given a copy of that tape previous to the trooper?
No. I can't recall that.
So you think the trooper gave it to her?
I think it was provided by our office to the trooper.
And then to her?
I think it's my understanding she had to FOIA things through the prosecutor's office, so it's possible that she had to FOIA that,
So it's
yes.
your position that she did not have that video previously to meeting with the trooper?
At this time, I could be wrong, but I do think that the trooper is the one that requested it.
Okay. I will follow up on that, thank you.
Now you can ask your question. Yes, it started.
Hi, guys.
Now you can start.
Cheryl, I'm gonna jog your memory a little bit.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna jog all of your memories. I sent you all a copy of the Secretary of State's interpretation of the Open Meetings Act. And in that, I misspoke, and I said that what you had performed was a round-robin open meeting, or round-robin closed meeting. And then the following week, I told you I'm sorry, because I can apologize. I'm secure enough that I can do that when I make a mistake. And I apologized and told you that it was not a round-robin meeting, it was a round-the-horn meeting. Every one of you, except for Marie and Cheryl, attended that meeting. It was conducted by Karen. She admitted it right here when she was asked, who did you contact? And she said, everyone but Marie and Cheryl. So, Joe, that's a meeting that you did attend, and it was an illegal meeting. It wasn't that you were physically behind closed doors in a smoke-filled room or anything like that, but you deliberated on spending township money, and you came to a conclusion without being in an open meeting and without it being allowed for the public to be there. You guys had made up your mind on that, and what set my ears up first of all, set my eyes up first of all, is when I'm reading the agenda and the answer from the lawyer who tripped you up. I was informed by the board that you wanted me to attend meetings. Really? Because we have 7 people on our board, not 5. Now, 5 of you can hold an open meeting and you can discuss this, but you didn't do that. Now, she's saying, well, this is something Karen could have done without the board, but you didn't. And then smugly at that same time, Jennifer says, yeah, I was informed. We were all informed, but you weren't. So So yes, Joe, you did violate the Open Meetings Act, and Al, so did you.
All right, is there anybody else, public statement?
I don't think did we get an answer, Meg Ritchie, Outer Drive? Did we get an answer about whether or not it's legal or ethical to make a motion, have it approved by the board, and then not do it? Is there a legal aspect to that, or?
This would be a matter within the board's discretion as to how to respond to that situation if that occurred.
So they're monitoring themselves?
Absolutely they are. If the issue of noncompliance is, in particular, if what you're speaking to is the comment that I heard from Trustee Kellerman earlier regarding the office, if that's the question of the board, was the motion of the board properly executed, then it's a question for staff to be addressed. And I suspect the superintendent would speak to that. I don't know, but I suspect she would. And the board can determine what, if anything, to do at that point.
You're on.
I'm not being asked by my board.
This is
Or
public
you,
comment.
I thought you could answer me at this point in the meeting, but. All right,
Nope,
so
it's public comment time.
how do we go about doing what you all voted for, and now what, you changed your minds?
I think that's a really good question.
You voted for it. And then,
It's on tape, just for anybody that wants to know. It was looked up, and we will find the minutes on the tape of that meeting that I stated, her office,
That's
clear as a bell.
That's-
So, yes, I don't know what we do about it. I don't know what I do about it. I'm as frustrated as you. That's some frustration in my voice. What do we do as a board? Do we just re-vote and change our mind on what we voted on? No, I don't think so. We voted X.
Nobody has a comment as to why she has not been returned to her office.
That's my comment.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Just another quick, no, you all don't need somebody to come in and teach you morality and ethics. You know what it is, and either you're just not doing it, or you're just so mad at this point that you're just gonna dig your heels in and say, I don't wanna do anything, I'm angry. So nobody needs to teach you morality and ethics, you all know. You don't need somebody to come in and teach that to you. Either you read it on the pamphlets that you are giving and implement it, then it doesn't do anybody any good if you hand out papers, or you hand out booklets, or you have a teacher come in and teach you. I mean, thank you. That was longer than that was.
Hello, I'm Terry Wood. I live on Outer Drive. My question to the board is I know that you have changed rules and stuff, and you've given more authority with the contract to Karen. My question is how much of that authority do you guys retain so that you can actually vote on anything, or do you just go to Karen and ask her? Okay? I mean, I don't think that that's fair to us as voters, that you guys have just decided to relinquish, tape and paste whatever you wanted from the rules and regulations. I would think that you would stand up with a backbone and put her back in her office. If it was Jack Phillips, I can tell you right now, you would have had him back in his office immediately. You don't have to like Marie. There is nothing that says when we vote that you have to like the people that you are chosen with. But you at least have to be respectful and go by the rules. You can't just change them at your whim. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeremy Tolliver, Clinton Street. You have to forgive me, I'm in a lot of I guess my question is to Ms. Kellerman.
Yes.
And it's not a big one, I just wanted some clarity, so. It was in the last meeting that you said you felt completely unsafe to enter the building, correct?
During business hours when there's
Right.
people, because I didn't know the whereabouts of the cameras, and there's obviously areas that are not covered.
Respectfully, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't not feel safe when you come into a building. But then I think you said something along the lines of, you were one of the people that voted Ms. Marie out for her safety?
I did vote, and I explained to her, and I'm not sure she at the time believed me, but when we did vote, am I violating anything here? I could be. I can say what I voted. I did vote her out because I felt, and I have talked to her now, that I think either one of us should not go in there without an armed officer, or a uniformed officer, not armed, sorry, or someone that can vouch for the fact that it doesn't happen to me. I believe in our court system that she was found innocent. I believe she was innocent, but it cost her to be called an attacker, assault and battery, and live with it
Yeah.
is horrifying.
No, I totally agree. Couldn't agree with you more. But I guess I need clarity on the very next motion, you voted her back in immediately without following up with security issues. So I guess I was confused.
I wasn't the one that said I wanted it right that day. In fact, first I proposed a week or two or three to make sure we had cameras and things in place, but
Right.
then it was brought up by public, I believe, that said, I want her in today, tonight, tomorrow.
I agree, but you understand my confusion.
Right,
Okay.
yeah,
I agree. I
my,
just wanted clarity.
my sense was I wanted to make sure it was safe for her with cameras.
What I was saying is, you said there was a security issue. You didn't want to come in because you were unsafe. You voted her out for her safety. But in the very next motion, you offered or wanted to have her voted back in immediately without addressing the security issues.
We're addressing them at this point with cameras. This is why this is on the subject for office security. So I want good security in the office that doesn't get wiped out or doesn't get reported if, for instance, I get accused of assaulting somebody last week, the cameras are gone, so I have no backup. So I'm a little worried about that too.
No, I understand. If she's in harm's way, then it doesn't make sense.
But she still has to have her office back to be phone answering if she wants to.
Yeah, I can,
Thank
Jeremy.
you. I just
You
wanted
know,
clarity.
first of all, what happened here? I'll check with you later. That doesn't look
I
good.
just got out of surgery today, so bear with me.
No, I think what you're asking is the process of what's going on in the office and why she feels the way she feels. And I was going to go into this in the next meeting, but here we go. What basically happened, as far as I was concerned from my standpoint, it could have been addressed like day one. Never should have taken the next half a year and the other half of the year to do it, because it never happened. No one ever said anything to me about anything that was happening. So I think what Trustee Kellerman is saying is she's really concerned that a group will come together, as I learned in mediation, they're called bullies. This is kind of the term that I picked up from mediation, that's literally what happens. And I think what she's trying to say is the same thing could happen to her. It was very clear on their film, meaning a Township film, that it never happened. Well, of course it never happened, but that wasn't the point. I still had to go through all of that in order to prove that it never happened, even though I knew in my heart it never happened.
I wasn't questioning any of that.
No, I understand. So I think that's what she's trying to say, is that there's a confusion that she feels the same thing could happen to her.
I was just confused that she wanted you back in immediately.
It really wasn't, it was the audience jumped up, I don't remember who it
No,
was.
I agree.
And they jumped up and said, no, not a week from now today.
I'm
Is that what you're asking
I'm worried
is,
about the safety part of it, like.
Oh, the
you
safety-
coming back in immediately when it hasn't been addressed and you got cameras.
oh, I've been told by both these that they're scared to death of me, but I'm sitting here right between them,
Not
so.
asking you that, Bree.
I know,
I
but
know whatever you're
yes, you have.
comfortable
You
with,
told
you're
me
gonna
that.
do, so I just.
No, I wasn't
With it.
sure. I'm still, I guess I'm not sure where the direction you're coming
Well,
from.
no, you wanted to be back in your office
Yes.
before the security, is what I'm saying.
With company, what both of us have
Oh.
said that in agreement.
I don't need security to come back in my office. Is that what you're asking?
Yes,
Oh, no.
okay.
You think, no,
No, you
because,
answered my question.
Company.
yeah,
I
exactly.
think you've answered my question.
Okay.
I just, yeah, you went into it in a
No,
little
I
more
appreciate you
detail.
coming, to say the least.
Thank you.
I'm sorry for the surgery. That's, all right, is there anybody else for public comments? Well, guess what? I've got 5 minutes, you guys, and we're gonna start with our 6 o'clock meeting. So, oh, go ahead.
I just want to know if we're going to have another special meeting, and when
Oh,
will it?
next time.
Are we going to do the
We
board
st-
meetings rules of order?
We still have to go back to the board rules, so I guess we have
Responsibility of Board
to.
of Trustees
Well,
or Office
that's-
Security?
Oh,
Well, the office security, I thought we were gonna have on the next.
well, that's what I
regular meeting.
said.
I'd like to remind the board that we're in the budget season, and the budget should be ready at the next meeting. And that's generally what we use our 5 o'clock meetings for,
Next month,
budget.
the next meeting.
I think you need to talk to trustee Kellerman. I'm not sure she's understanding time-wise.
You're saying the next meeting is usually for the
The
budget?
start of the budget. And that's generally at 5 o'clock, so if you're gonna do
It is.
something in addition.
What he's saying is that we're going into budget season, and that the next meeting supposedly, which is what, September 5th, at 5 o'clock, we're supposed to be dealing with our budget. So it sounds like what trustee Benzie is saying is that we're going to table. He wants to table.
No, I didn't
What-
say that.
Oh, okay.
I just said at the next 5 o'clock meeting, we're supposed to be dealing with the budget.
Okay. Okay.
So if you wanted to,
I don't want to interrupt you.
okay, if you wanted to do something in addition to that, maybe we'd even have to come in earlier. I don't know,
An extra meeting,
but I just know it's budget season.
an extra meeting,
It's time to start.
right.
So what do you want to do about it?
Me?
Yeah,
I want to start the budget.
which means that you want to table what's going on.
No, I didn't say that. I said I want to start the budget in the first meeting in September.
Okay, so this meeting, you don't want it to continue, or you do want it to continue with
I
discussion?
don't know how the board wants to proceed with the timing of it.
Okay. So the timing of this issue, dealing with the security of the building, or with the board
The
rules?
board rules both.
The
We have two
timing of
things.
the special, next special meeting
Okay,
that you want to have on that.
There's 3 topics.
that ain't gonna happen in an hour, are you serious? 3 topics in an hour, especially when you're dealing with budget.
Or did you want to choose one of the topics for the next meeting?
If I can,
Go right ahead.
I would just suggest that, if you were to want to have another special meeting at 5 o'clock, you either return to the board rules, continue your conversation about board responsibilities and security, and then we can have during the regular meeting a discussion about the budget and how we proceed after that with the budget, so
So you're saying the regular meeting would be a budget meeting?
we could discuss how to proceed with the budget.
Make that the regular.
Okay, is that,
So I'm saying you could return
that's
to one of
fine.
these 2 other topics in the meantime, prior to that
so
meeting.
that puts the budget back one more,
No, 'cause
Meeting.
Main meeting.
Okay.
you're going to be, the budget will be introduced to you on Friday, September 1st.
okay.
It'll
Oh,
be a
first.
topic, it's required by statute.
Yes, it is.
It will be a topic at the regular board meeting that we can discuss how we move forward. So I'm suggesting that at the 5 o'clock meeting that day, you could return to one of the other two topics, board rules of order or,
So we'll be handed the budget on September 1.
yes, it will be
And-
available to you, yes.
Yes, not available, you'll hand it to us.
I will
Available.
not hand it to you. It will be in your mailbox like your other
Okay.
packets will be.
Okay, so to be September 1, it'll be in the mailbox.
And
We haven't
online.
decided on a size or how we're going to do it, right?
Size?
Yeah, before we have those great big long ones as opposed to 8 by
It's
10.
usually a personal preference. Usually people let me
Yeah.
know if they would like
Okay.
the big version or the
Okay.
smaller print version.
Well, it wasn't smaller print, smaller size.
Paper?
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, do you follow through with that? So September 1, the budget will come out, or
So
at
what
least
we have to
we'll
do
have
is
access to it.
decide what we want to do in the early meeting, it sounds
So
like.
you're looking at September 5th, which is a board meeting, as to whether or not you want to meet at 5 o'clock. Your preference, trustee Benzie, would be the budget.
As long as we start the budget the first week in September, I'm good. And it's been recommended that we do that at the regular meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you wanted to have a special 5 o'clock meeting now, you could schedule what you wanted to talk about in that.
But our regular meeting would be a budget meeting.
What if we just decided the early meeting is as needed? We could decide where we are at that point. Would that be reasonable? I'll put all three subjects on there and
For an
And
hour.
if we get through one, we can
Okay.
move to the next, and if we get through that, we can move to the next.
We've only been able to get through maybe a page and a half, 2 pages of the board.
At a max, that was pretty good, actually. And those are all suggestions, not recommendations. Those are all suggestions. Okay, so that we understand, okay, that eventually we'll have a product, but it'll take a little while to get there, okay?
We can make a motion that we,
So,
I-
I'm just
did
asking
that
for
an- No,
you
did that
guys.
answer the question,
Are
or
we,
not?
are we doing all three then, or are we gonna
we make a
start off with
motion,
one?
I make a motion that on the early meeting, the next meeting at 5 o'clock, we can start in whatever order we wish to work through as much as we can.
Okay, I need to know how to post it.
Of what?
Of the three things,
Well, the budget we're gonna do,
The board rules?
we can do responsibility of the Board of Trustees, office security, and move on to rules if we get through this. And then the regular meeting at 6 o'clock will be budget, has to be.
Well, it's an item on the agenda.
well, it will be the
It has to
agenda.
be, though.
Not
the whole thing.
No?
It'll be an item on the agenda. It won't be the whole agenda. We have other business to conduct.
Unless they want it to be, isn't it?
I was gonna say, that's,
We could make it
I-
number one.
I would think, from what you're saying, Joe, we should have the whole,
I thought the ARPA funds
Time.
were coming that meeting.
We
Is that
have
part of
other
the budget?
bills. What we can decide in the September meeting is how we're gonna do the budget this year.
oh, is that what you, okay.
It's just the introduction of, this is the budget, this is how we're gonna
Okay.
do it.
Huh. All right, that puts you 2 weeks behind what you would normally do, right?
No,
Okay,
as long as you're on you're gonna get the budget, Karen, you're gonna get the budget on September 1st, correct?
right.
Okay, we're gonna decide what we're gonna do at the regular board meeting and how
On
we're
the
gonna
5th.
process the budget. That's all we need to do that night, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, Maureen, are we doing the responsibilities of Board of Trustees, office security, and then board meeting rules of order? Is that how you want me to post it?
All right, you're gonna say,
I think you wanted this one, this
That
one,
was your
then that
motion,
one.
wasn't it?
Yeah. I didn't, doesn't matter what order. My motion doesn't,
I don't know.
didn't have an order.
It depends on how she's looking at posting it, which way they would look at it.
Does it matter in
So
order?
those-
These are the three subjects.
So the three subjects would be the board rules, the responsibility of the Board of Trustees, and office security. You listening? Hang on. Board rules. Then she's got responsibility of Board of Trustees, and then office security, those three issues. And then the budget, we decide on the 5th, the direction that we go in, correct?
How we're gonna do
Okay.
it, yeah.
Yep, okay. Any thoughts? No thoughts? No thoughts, okay, so that's okay with you.
Yeah, we'll do it the same way we normally do. We've done it the same for the last 7 years I know of. And that is, we'll do it line by line.
Well, no,
And
that's
camera
what we
run
have
the
to
meeting.
decide, right? That's what we're supposed to decide.
And that's
On
what
the
we probably
5th.
will decide, yes.
Yeah, okay. We have to decide it.
Yes.
It's not etched in cement. We have to decide how we want to do it.
Right.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, now the motion was to, did you have a motion?
Sherry made
I made a motion, yes, to discuss, and he said I have to do it in order, that,
What order do you want?
I don't care.
I don't think it,
Just, I was just asking a question if this is what you guys want to do and what we wanted our
but she
special
has to
meeting.
post it. There is no order.
It doesn't matter, okay, it doesn't.
I'll just-
But that order doesn't matter, those three things, responsibilities of the Board of Trustees, office security, and rules.
Okay, that's the motion.
And
Do you
the
need a
special
second?
meeting.
Second.
Right.
Yes, discussion.
Since we didn't have a previously scheduled 5 o'clock that day, I have work until that day, so I can be here, but I'll be late.
Okay. All right, you guys have to vote on it.
Mr. Benzi?
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes,
Mr. Funes Bliss?
Yes.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Ms. Howe?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Thank you.
I seconded.
A second. Nope. Is that it? I have board comments. You guys got any comments after that? Nope. No comments? Thank you all for coming and sitting through it. We're going to start 5-minute break, and then we're going to have
I move the meeting be
the
adjourned.
regular meeting.
Second.
Pardon?
I move the meeting be adjourned.
Yes, after I tell them that they're going to have 5-minute break, and then we're going to have, our next meeting will start. Okay.
Mr. Benzi?
We're adjourning.
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman?
yes.
Mr. Funes Bliss?
Yes.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Ms. Howe?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Thank you.
5 minutes.